We cut furniture grade and instrument grade timbers here, mostly instrument grade, and most of that wood goes into guitars.
So this is a project that's about following guitars all the way back to the tree.
What we do is we take logs, mostly from plantation grown material, and we bring them here and we saw them up into components for guitars, basically, multiples of components for guitars, and we dry the wood and then we send it out to guitar companies all over Australia.
So we've been going from guitar shops back to guitar factories, learning about where they source their timber, going to sawmills, and from sawmills going all the way back to foresters and to the actual forest and to the trees themselves that guitars are made out of. So it's really a story about, in some ways it's around, well, where do the things that we use in our everyday life, whether it's a guitar or a table or a piece of cutlery, all of those things come from somewhere. They're made by people in certain places. So there are all kinds of questions that go with that.
Queensland maple is a big one for backs and sides and necks. We do black bean for fretboards. We do bunya pine for soundboards. Maple silkwood, which goes into backs and sides as well. Silver quandong, which we grow ourselves in plantation, and that goes into electric solid body guitars. Okay, so bunya pine is indigenous to this particular area. It grows from basically the New South Wales-Queensland border, roughly speaking, and in its natural state only grows as far north as Maryborough. Yeah, so the area is here, right here in southeast Queensland where bunya pine grows. It's suitable for guitar faces, for soundboards, mainly because experiments have proved it to be so. We generally use conifers, and it is a conifer, so with very, very few exceptions, it's conifers that go into soundboards. We're not selling bunya pine for backs and sides here, we're selling it for soundboards. You know, when the search for new soundboards was out on bunya pine and King Billy pine were the ones found in Australia that made a good guitar. King Billy pine makes a fine guitar, but you just can't find enough King Billy pines to satisfy any manufacturing process whatsoever. Bunya pine would be the same, except for forestry planted it in the 1920s. They started planting bunya along with hoop pine, and karri for that matter, in the forestry around Imbil, Amwar, Yarraman, basically the southeast Queensland, Mary River and central planting regions. And they put bunya in the gullies because they had trouble with hoop in the gullies with frost. Frost kills young hoop seedlings. And so they put bunya, and when they originally cut the Queensland pine, which is both bunya and hoop, and even karri mixed together, they didn't care whether it was a bunya or it was a hoop or a karri, it just went into the market as Queensland pine. So therefore the forestry decided they can plant all three without worrying about it. The karris failed dismally for other reasons. The bunyas did well, the hoop did even better. When it came to harvesting, they realised that there was an issue with the knots with the bunya. Bunya pine is a superb mill log. It's very easy to cut, it's soft, it stays straight, it dries well. It's one of the better pines to cut. However, it has a single issue problem, the knots. Once you start hitting knots, they're like little bits of steel. And unlike most pines, which you clear through the knot like it wasn't there, the bunya pine knot, if you hit it with a carbide blade, it shatters it. So it's a problem. So we actually don't use carbide blades, we just use steel, high-speed steel blades, and we don't cut knotty material. And I got a phone call from Bradley Clark, who was working for Maton Guitars at the time. He was the CEO, and he was wanting to do the all-Australian thing and to find Australian timbers to do their guitars. And he rang me out of the blue and said, "Can I do this?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" We did our first cut for Maton Guitars there and then, and it blossomed from there, I suppose you'd have to say. Yeah.
And we feel that it's really important for people to become more aware about how things are made, what they're made out of, and where those things come from.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride, I've got to tell you. And as far as sawmilling goes, it don't get any more interesting than that.